Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where I'm going to go over 5 quick tips that are hopefully going to get you a little bit better at Ryze. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I realize that Ryze is one of the lowest win rate champions, and you see a lot of pros playing it, but it just doesn't really translate a lot to solo queue. So I hope I can help out a few people just get a little bit better understanding of playing Ryze. So if you're new to my channel, my name is LowFit. I do educational content. I also stream over on Twitch, and I am going to put my Discord link down in the description as well. If you have any questions for me, I love helping out people, doing a little bit of coaching, cast meowing, and just answering any questions you have. So without that out of the way, let's jump into the 5 tips, and a little bit of a caveat before I get into them. I just really want you guys to contribute down below if you have your own Ryze tips, because obviously with this 5 tip format, I can't go over everything. So if you guys could comment down below and just help out the new people coming to play Ryze, I would love that. And as just kind of the type of video this isn't for high elo one tricks. I'm a Diamond 4 player myself, so I'm not the highest, just like the best player at Ryze, but I feel like I have a really good understanding on how to help out the lower elo players. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright guys, and going into tip number 1, I want to talk about the optimal trade that you can make when you are playing Ryze. Now, if you look at his passive, Rune Prison is Spellfuck's reset overloads cooldown and charge a rune for 4 seconds up to 2 runes. And then if 2 runes are discharged, they overload the shield, and then just really strong scalings on that and increase your movement speed. So with that shield and movement speed, it is a huge window of power where you want to effectively trade. The easiest way to trigger this would just be doing an E, backing off, doing a second E, and then doing your Q and looking if you think you can win the all-in moving forward, or if you need to kite back with your shield and movement speed. So just kind of bring this into your game. Use the auto attack trades again, and then the shield when you're looking for all ins there. And this will be just a basic trade pattern you can look to do when you are playing Ryze. If you have any questions about this, hit me up in the comments down below, and I'll wrap up tip number 1. Alright, and jumping into tip number 2, I want to talk about a little bit, just kind of about overall just a game state and how you want to build for different game states. I have a really weird array of items here, but what I want to talk about particularly here is the Righteous Glory. I think it's an extremely strong item on Ryze, and it is very effective in, first of all, it gives you quite a bit of mana, health, and armor, and cooldown reduction, which is all very nice. So it's going to be a little bit more of a forgiving item if you are getting stomped in lane, or if you're maybe generally a little bit newer to Ryze. Righteous Glory, I think, will be a great item. Also, defensive boots might be a little bit better, as well as Zonia. So always look into more defensive builds when you are going into a game, whether you're losing or new. Second up, you can go an Aftershock. I know Aftershock got nerfed, but if you are you find a lane that you just struggle so much with, say you're playing against a Zed, say you're playing against a Kled that have a very obvious all-in potential, and you really just kind of want to shut down that burst damage, Aftershock can be a viable rune. However, I love Phase Rush on Ryze. I think Phase Rush is number 1, but if you are new to the game and just want an easy point and click, just a huge amount of armor and magic resist, Aftershock might be really good, because you always get a guaranteed proc with your Rune Prison. If you have any questions about builds, hit me up in the comments down below, or if you want to share kind of an off meta build that you find is really strong, yeah, comment those down below as well. Alright, and for tip number 3, I really want to talk about people that are kind of in the Iron to Platinum area, and how you can take just full effect of Ryze's kit. Now, a lot of people forget about this ability, very rarely use Realm Warp, but when you have a jungler in the top part of your jungle, and say you've just backed and your enemy is pushing up waves right here, I really want you guys to take advantage of this tool of the Realm Warp. Ping your jungler over, be like, hey, let's gank this guy, and then just get a really good Realm Warp behind them. Very rarely will they have this warded. You can also do pink wards and sweepers and really set up this play. So do not forget about Ryze's ult. I know it's not the flashiest of things, but it is still a really strong ability that can do really good wonders for ganking. Also, it's a great way to just roam down mid. Maybe you want to get a gank with the mid laner and your jungler is following up, so always look to take advantage of your Realm Warp in those kind of situations, similar to how you would a Tahm Kench ult. Alright, and jumping into tip number 4, guys, I want to talk a little bit just how Ryze plays out in the game if you are newer to the champion. If you are uncomfortable with your matchup that you're facing, you can always just take the safe way and do not look to engage. Just look to farm under your turret and really scale up for the late game, where the game is going to be a lot more forgiving. Maybe you grab a Zonias, maybe you grab a bit of armor, maybe you grab some Merc Treads, and it's going to always be easier to execute in the later game after you get a few items, a huge mana pool, and then giving you a great shield. Right now the shield is going for what, like 500, 600 health. So really just start trying to understand where his spikes are. Obviously you can't get early kills because you have CC and you have a decent amount of damage with your tier, but if you are newer to the champion, just kind of play it as a low risk, maybe a little bit of a moderate reward in the late game, because sometimes the best thing you can do in trades, say you're against an Aatrox in the top lane, which is a very strong pick right now and you're not used to playing against it, a lot of the times maybe you just want to stay out of that EQ range and just let him push in the towers to you. You're going to outscale him to an insane degree in the late games, so just really understand that. Do not throw games away in the early game. I think this is one of the biggest reasons why Ryze has quite a low win rate, is because people don't understand positioning and they try and be over aggressive in the early game with Ryze. So just have a good understanding of, hey, my teammates are doing pretty well, everyone's going even, or maybe you have a winning lane, try and play back. Obviously it's going to be a different situation when your team is feeding. Everyone gets those teams where you might need to try and push the tempo a little bit, try and be a little bit more aggressive and try and win your lane a bit. But if you see all your other teammates winning or at least going even, you just want to keep that state and do not risk your enemy snowballing on you, because once Ryze gets behind a little bit in the early and mid game, he can struggle quite a bit against some of those divers that can just jump on top of him and maybe have a bit of tenacity to get out of your route. So that will wrap up this tip. I'd love to hear you guys' comments on what kind of champions you're struggling against down below. If you have a champion that you just like, the matchup is really tough, hit me up down below. Maybe I can help you out, give you some tips for that particular matchup, and kind of hear if there's like a common theme of everyone's like, oh god, I hate the Fiora matchup, for example, or certain matchups that you struggle with. Hopefully there's going to be a few big Ryze players around here too as well that will help you out if I miss it. So that will wrap up this tip. Alright, and I want to go into the final tip. I want to go into how to team fight effectively. When you are very ahead and you understand the kit in a decent level, I think the most effective way to look for team fights is to try and grab some flanks in the team fight and get into that backline and really start shredding people and kiting out the people that maybe are peeling or protecting the enemy champion. So number one, I think Ryze is a decent flanker and decent duelist in the late game, so always try when you are ahead to catch them in off, just kind of in an angle that they aren't expecting, because you have a very telegraphed kit, right? Everyone knows that when you get into a certain range, Ryze can root you, right? So just understand that this kit's been around forever and they know what you are trying to do, so maybe catching them off guard by maybe flanking them around this way or sitting in the bush right here when they are contesting the Baron and the two teams are lined up like this. Ryze can be extremely effective going in and out of a vision or something, so just make sure that when you are ahead and you are good enough to know you're aggressive and do well and just beat out those carries at a decent clip, because in the late game Ryze is a very hard champion to beat out in skirmishy situations. So that would be the number one way. The second way to approach team fights, if you're a little bit behind, if you're struggling a bit, if you're a little bit newer to Ryze, just lining up behind your teammates can be extremely effective in essentially playing the role of a bit of a bodyguard with your rune prison. Say you have an ADC that's doing extremely well, like a 13 into Vayne. You have like right here, this is the Vayne. If the enemy team is looking to dive him, just line up kind of close, but not in so close where you are going to both get hit by a certain ability by anyone that's doing an AoE CC ability, and look to W and peel off the front line that's looking to dive your Vayne and look to out damage them. Also, this is going to be quite effective because Ryze has a very strong kit in doing consistent damage, which is always great for front-to-back team fights, as opposed to divers that might be a little bit better for just kind of a chaotic fight. So just understand that a lot of the time in late-game team fights, Ryze can win front-to-back in a lot of situations if you are uncomfortable with using the flank maneuvers. That will wrap up my tips. Again, guys, as I said at the start of the video, I'd really appreciate it if you put your own tips for Ryze down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm always everyone's, I think, always learning. No one's a perfect League of Legends player, so let's keep that in mind. And if you enjoyed the content, guys, please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, take it easy.